All right. If you want to make more money in your business today, this week, this month, you are in the right place. I'm so excited. Good morning and welcome to Business Breakfast and Bedhead. We have a very special guest joining us this morning, and I can't wait for you guys to meet her. She is so amazing. But before we get into it, I want to share with you guys a really quick story. For the longest time, and if you guys have seen some of my workshops before, I didn't believe that I could ever hit six figures. I thought six figures as a hairstylist was like this elusive number that like only like the celebrity stylists got to reach, or that people in like really big cities got to. And I worked in a small town, and I really kept this like, I'm just a hairstylist and I'll only ever make this much money in my head. And so when I went out on my own in 2010 and started my own business, which I was very proud to call myself a business owner, but at the same time, I felt like such a fraud if people like called me on like things about business. I still felt like just a hairstylist. I started taking on more and more and more clients, and I started seeing my income increase. But what I didn't realize what I was doing is the way I was making more money was by stretching myself thinner, pushing myself to the limit, and working myself to the bone. And when people would congratulate me on doing so well, I would say to them, "Oh my gosh, yes." And I'm so tired. And I was so proud of how tired I was. So today we're going to nip a lot of that in the bud. And I want to help you make more money with less stress, less anxiety, and less workload. If you're up for that, hey, Garen Jones is in the house. Oh, Garen, you're going to love my guest that's coming on live with us. If you want to make more money, stress less, and work less hours, give me a hell's yes in the comments, because we're going to get into it this morning. I'm just going to bring our guest live right away. Because maybe you can request to go live. I'm not sure how to do this, but I just want to remind you guys that this is a safe space and a judgment-free zone where we can show up real, raw, honest, and vulnerable together. That's really important to me when we get together. So as we get ready to bring my guest live, I want you all to comment yes to this being a judgment-free zone where we can show up real, raw, honest, and vulnerable. Can you guys all give me a yes in the comments? Because we're all in different places and in different spaces in our journeys right now. And I want to make sure that you know that wherever you are at, there is no judgment. We're all learning at different places, and we're all going to come together and support each other. Support is so important. So we got Hells Yes by Kenzie. Yes, Hells Yes by Maggie. Yes by Jesse. I love it. Okay, so I'm going to bring our special guest, and I want you guys to give the biggest business breakfast and bedhead welcome to our guest. This is her first time. This is someone that I met while I was in Tulum. It was so amazing. She has a wealth of knowledge and wisdom, and I want you guys to give her a big welcome. And also, let's just put where you're tuning in from in the world to show our wonderful guest that we have people from all over the world joining us. And these are always saved, just so you guys know that if you miss these lives, they're always saved, as well as you can find them posted on the Anxious Creative Podcast the next day. All right. So without further ado, but sometimes Instagram takes a second, I want to welcome our special guest that's going to help us get out of our own way and make more money and have more abundant lives, is Marni. Oh, that was good timing.
Oh,
Hi.
hi.
Welcome.
Oh my goodness. I'm so happy to be here with you, Dawn. Thank you so much for having me. Hi, everybody watching.
Hi. So I'm just going to move this up. Marni, can you quickly give an intro of yourself, of who you are, where you live, where you're from?
Yeah, I'd be honored. So, hi, everybody. I'm Marni. People call me Marni May. I'm originally from, it's my middle name. And this is Muffin. She might be, I guess, hanging out with us today. So I'm originally from the US, but I live in Tulum, Mexico these days for the past few years. And I used to be a business consultant and got burnt out and decided to shift into the world of mysticism. So I traveled the world. I traveled the world studying mysticism for the last about 8 years. And now I help people keep their energy fields clean and clear so that they can help shift the paradigm. And yeah, and it's so much fun. I really love what you're talking about in terms of getting out of our own way, because so often what we get to do is recognize the patterns that we've developed and how we can shift through those so that we can shift our mindset, shift our energy, so that we can invite in what it is that we're looking for. It's a lot of what I love to do with people. And so I'm so excited to be here and to talk with you.
I love that, because I always say it's like you can learn all, and you worked in corporate and you worked like business stuff. You can learn all the steps of what to do. And I've done this so many times in my life and business where I'm like, I'm doing all the things. Why am I not getting the results that I'm supposed to? And I'm curious what your take on that is.
That's I love the way you phrase that. So for me, it's less about doing and it's more about being, right? So we can do a ton of things, but if we're doing it from a place, if we're doing all the things to make money from a place of scarcity. So like you were saying at the beginning when you were introing yourself, you had this mindset, this belief that you couldn't make six figures, or that wasn't for you, or that it had to be difficult, or it was going to be a stretch. So if we look at things from the perspective of limiting beliefs like that, then even if we're doing all the things we think we're supposed to be doing, if that's still embodied in us, it's in our, what I refer to as our field. It's in our energetic space. And so we can't shift the physical paradigm without shifting our energetic paradigms from the perspective that I come from. And so even if we're doing all the right things, we're saying all the right things, if the place that we're in energetically, if how we be is not aligned with what we want, it's not coming to us.
I love that because I was sharing a little bit yesterday how like it's like people will be like it's all about mindset, and sometimes like mindset work I'm kind of like okay, only because I really believe in it, but we can like I've tricked myself being like okay, I have the right mindset, and I love how you're like it's not just like thinking, it's like from the place of being, and that's what I really experienced last week in Mexico was like I had been struggling with I'm like no, I'm like doing the mindset work. I'm like doing like I'm training myself, but there was still some missing link between like my essence, maybe if the I don't even know what that even means, but like there was a disconnect between like the mindset and the heart.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'd love for you to expand on that a little bit more because I know so many of us and I'm curious, any of you guys that are watching right now, like leave questions for Marni as well. But I would love for you guys to put in the comments how many of you guys have had someone tell you that like being a hairstylist or being a service provider is like not going to be a profitable career, and or like asked you, are you just a hairstylist? Are you just this? And you've lived out this label or you've put yourself in this label where you're like, I could never, or if I did, it would have to be hard. Just put us in the comments. Cause yeah, I'm curious, like what, even if people, or I've done the mindset work before and it still didn't work, what do you think needs to be done to like click the head to the heart a little bit more and like actually show up, not just like telling yourself you believe it, but like actually living out the belief. Does that make sense?
Fully, I hear you. And I love this. I love this train of thought. So let's go with it.
Okay.
You might notice like throughout our conversation, I might close my eyes, right? And that's my way of going internal. It's my way of connecting to what you're referring to as the heart. And so I'm going to speak a little bit to what you're saying. And then I think what I'm feeling called to do is invite us in like a little exercise of just breathing and like closing our eyes and trying to connect with that heart. So first of all, in terms of the mind to the heart perspective, there's a difference between intellectually understanding something and embodying it. And I want to acknowledge that the first step to embodiment is often that intellectual understanding. And it's not always the case. Sometimes we can just get something without having to like conceptualize it. But a lot of the times, especially for our Western minds, it's really useful and helpful to understand a concept first. And from there, we can then start to embody it. So with this understanding intellectually, like I'm doing the mindset work, I have the mindset, right? Like have patience with yourself because oftentimes that's the first step and the next will come. And it takes time to embody. And there are shortcuts we can take, of course, and there are hacks and things people do. But I would say part of the process is patience. And my teacher, Mama Rosa, who I think we'll talk about later. At some point, I'd love to talk about.
Oh no, you froze. Oh, there we go.
Are we back?
You're back. You're back. I was like, we're also streaming, anyone on Instagram, we're also streaming on Facebook. And I was like, no, she's still moving over here. Okay, good.
We're still here. Yeah. Okay. Tulum technology. Sometimes internet goes out though. So Mama Rosa teaches the foundational principle to anything that we do, especially in spiritual work. One is patience, and the second is faith. And I used to think of faith as like a curse word. Like I thought it was like such a gross word. I hated it for some reason. I just had such an aversion. And the deeper I get into my own practices and my own personal discovery, the more I love this word faith. But anyway, it's not a religious thing. It's really a trust, a deep surrender and trust. And so part of the process of moving from the head to the heart is patience, and the other part is trust or faith. And part of it is also this shift from forcing something, from pushing something, which our minds are really good at, right? To embodying it means accepting it. And that means surrendering into it. And so there has to be like a softening and a relaxing that happens to come into that place of embodiment. And so, Dawn, how would you feel about us just doing like a quick little exercise to get into our bodies and get into our hearts? Would that be something that would feel good for you right now?
Yes, I would love that. Oh, and I just saw that Jessica's here. I also, can I just like make 2 comments on what you just said? Is
Whatever
that
you want to
okay?
say, yeah. Let's go.
'Cause like faith, a lot of times people associate with like religion or
Yes.
whatever, but like really, I don't even know what the actual definition is, but like faith is believing in something you can't see or you don't like that isn't happening yet. And I remember my brother sharing this story about being in university and having a professor ask like, how many of you guys have faith? And I come from a religious background, and my brother, I think, stood up and he basically was mocked for it. And I remember our family having this discussion, and I don't even know if my parents said it, but basically it's like, no, we use faith every single day. Like if you drive a car, when you're going through a green light, you have faith that those people are going to stop at their red light.
Yeah, that's right.
And like we actually, if you have trouble like believing in something that hasn't happened yet, or trusting that you can like step out and like take this like leap of faith, so to speak, it's like we actually do it every day. You cross the street, you have faith that these cars are going to stop for you. And so it's just like expanding that. And that actually, I always go back to that when I'm like struggling to like trust in the process of something.
Yeah.
Is like, no, I already trust in so many processes that have become second nature. And this is a new one. So it's scary and hard, but I know I can make it be second nature. Okay, let's do your oh, someone said force it. So I'm all behind on these comments. Let's do the exercise.
Okay. So honestly, I just want to invite us to close our eyes for a couple of minutes and breathe and connect with our hearts. So anyone who's watching this live or in the replay, we just gently close the eyes. We'll take a few grounding breaths together, inhaling through the nose, holding the breath at the top, and then exhaling through the mouth. Inhaling through the nose, holding that breath at the top, noticing how the breath comes into the body and nourishes you. And if you aren't feeling fully nourished, take another sip of air in, allowing yourself to receive. And then exhale, releasing, allowing any tension or stress that you might be carrying to release from the body. And then one more time like this, we'll inhale through the nose together. Take a nice deep inhale. Allow the breath to come all the way into the belly, the rib cage, and the chest. And as you expand with breath, allow yourself to expand with this life force and nourishment and hold it here, really receiving. And then release, allowing anything that's holding you back, any stress, any of those limiting beliefs in this moment, allow them to dissolve, whatever that means, trusting and having faith in this process. And then gently draw your awareness to the heart, the center of the chest. And you can imagine that there's a light at the center of your heart. And you can imagine that light expanding throughout your entire body. And you can imagine trusting that as this light fills you up, anything that's not serving you right now can just be washed away by this light. There's nothing you have to do. There's nothing you have to pick at. There's nothing you have to change, say, shift. All you get to do right now is be. And as you allow that light to fill you up, you can trust that you are exactly where you're supposed to be. And you can trust that you can call in exactly what it is that you want in this lifetime. And you can trust that you are safe. You can trust that you are held. And you can trust that you are loved. And then when you're ready, you can gently bring the awareness back to the body. And just notice how you feel. And if you want, you can rub the hands together, creating some warmth. And give your face and your scalp a little massage.
You'll fall back asleep.
Yeah, right. And then good night.
Yeah.
But it's just, that's a really nice practice. And it took us, like 2 minutes? But it's a really nice practice to allow the body to equalize and recalibrate. and
Mm-hmm.
to just bring the awareness into the physical and into the heart. And what I actually like, so I don't plan those things, right? We're
Mm-hmm.
talking, we're doing. So what I really appreciate these days, I've been thinking a lot about this thing I've seen on Instagram. It's people, they have a cup and then they put dirt in the cup of water. And they're
Oh,
like
yeah.
trying, you see it, they try to scoop out the dirt, and the dirt represents maybe these limiting beliefs, these issues that we
Mm-hmm.
have, these things that are holding us back. And if we're constantly going in, digging out the dirt, the water's still pretty mucky. But
Mm-hmm.
rather, if we were to fill that glass up with water, clean water, it actually allows the cup to be filled with new clean water, and all of that other stuff just disappears. And so the way that I relate to this, and I teach a class at noon Eastern today, and we're going to be working exactly with this concept. But when we fill up that cup with this love that comes from our hearts that we're each inherently connected to, when we
Mm-hmm.
can fill ourselves up with that, all of those things, all the mindset work that we've been doing can start to integrate. All of the practices that, you know, we've been practicing can start to be embodied. But more than anything, we can let go of the things that aren't serving us.
Mm-hmm.
And we can start to create spaciousness. There's clarity, there's spaciousness for all these things that we want to invite in, which I just think is the coolest thing. And I loved that shift because it's like, it's exhausting. It can be exhausting. And I love mindset work. So please don't hear me like dissing mindset work, but it can be exhausting. So when we
Yeah.
can move into that space of love, into that space of acceptance, rather than trying to change everything all the time.
Yeah, it's like leaning into, yeah, like I'll oftentimes be like, well, I got to do this, and then I got to do this, and then I got to do this, and I like restrict myself, and I feel trapped, and I don't feel free, and then
Yep.
it's like, but it's like the more space you create, actually, it's like it's counterintuitive almost, because especially in like Western culture, it's like hustle, go, grind, do all the things, and it's
Yeah.
like, how can you be easy about it? And I always say like, I don't want to learn. And I say to my students, like, and I'm curious, those of you guys watching, like, put a yes in the comments if you agree. I don't want to learn from somebody who's working 24/7 and pushing themselves to
Right.
the limit to get the results. I want to learn from someone who has work-life balance, who has ease, who is getting the results they want without doing it all.
Right. Fully. I mean, I feel like there's a few things I want to speak to in what you just shared.
Okay.
One is the people we surround ourselves from and the people that we learn from, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not about what people say, it's about, again, how they be, what they like, how are they showing up in the world? And the
Mm-hmm.
way that people show up in the world resonates with each of us and impacts us. So the people we surround ourselves with, we vibrate at the same frequency as them. If you think about it like guitars in a shop, right? If you pluck
Mm-hmm.
one guitar string, the other guitars are going to start to vibrate and sing, for lack of a better word, at the same frequency, at the same tone.
Yeah.
And so we as humans are just like that. That's why, like, for me, like a little bit of a sidetrack here, but the preservation of wisdom keepers traditions is so important. Working
Mm-hmm.
with indigenous teachers and getting exposure to different cultures and sharing those different teachings is so important, because all of us have everything inside of us. We
Mm-hmm.
all are infinite possibility. And so when
Mm-hmm.
we get exposure to different cultures, to different experiences, to different people, we get to activate and awaken those parts of ourselves. And
Yes.
so the teachers that we surround ourselves with, the people that we surround ourselves with, the attitude, the energy, the vibration, as it were, that we surround ourselves with impacts how we show up. And that's why
Mm-hmm.
being around other successful people enables us to be more successful. And so, and we get to lift people up with us.
Yeah.
And so it's this whole concept. So I really wanted to speak into the teachers that we choose and the people that we surround ourselves with, because I think that's so important. And
Yeah.
then do you want to talk on that
No,
again?
I was just going to ask, and like, I want you to share more about your teacher and how you found your teacher.
Oh, I would love to share about her. So I have been privileged to study around the world with a bunch of amazing teachers. And you know, it's interesting because I've been very blessed that when I go into different places and I meet with these teachers, they have seen something in me that they say, "Hey, I want to teach you. Come and learn with
Mm-hmm.
me." And the first time that happened that I'm aware of in the spiritual realm was with this woman, Mama Rosa. And she is a medicine woman out of Ecuador. She is from the Cayambe tradition, and she's indigenous medicine woman in Otavalo, Mexico, so like out in the mountains. And I met her on a retreat. I was on a yoga retreat my sister was leading, and she did this energetic clearing for us. And at the end of the clearing, she's like, hey, look, I see this shamanism thing in you. Do you want to come live with me, and we can activate this, and we can work together and cultivate this? I was like, heck yeah, I do.
That's so cool.
It was so cool, Dawn. Like I look back at my pictures, because right now we're doing a course with her, and we're taking a group down to Ecuador to meet with her and get activated with her. And I look back at my pictures from that time, and I'm just like, I cannot believe the things that I got to do and the experiences that I got to have, right? She was absolutely magical. But anyways, Mama Rosa was the first woman, and I imagine there are a lot of women who are following you. As a woman, especially coming from corporate, most of the women mentors that I had, there was some level of competition, even with my mentors. And there was, with most of the women colleagues that I had, there was competition because we were fighting for a quote unquote limited number of spots at the table, like seats at the table. And so I didn't understand what it meant to actually be in collaboration with women, what it actually meant to be in support of and by other women. And so when I got to work with Mama Rosa, it was the first time that I felt like, oh my God, this woman just sees me, has faith in me, and loves me, and she wants me to succeed. And so I got to receive that. And then I get to share that because I've received her transmissions, because I've received her experience and her wisdom. And so now that's a lot of the work that I like to do. But anyways, specifically about Mama Rosa, we're doing a course with her right now to teach people and give people access to her frequency, to her vibration, but also her wisdom, because a lot of the indigenous traditions and a lot of the indigenous wisdom is not being passed down anymore because future generations aren't as interested in maintaining it as previous generations were. And a lot of these are passed down verbally. So my sister and I are on a mission to preserve Wisdom Keepers' wisdom, and to then share it out as they see fit, so that they have some money from this, right? So that they get income, because it's really important, so that they're witnessed, and also so that we can maintain that wisdom is not lost. So yeah, that's Mama Rosa and the work we're doing with her.
So how is that going to look, the work you're doing with her? Because it sounds, I mean, I love learning about different traditions, different customs, different, what am I thinking the word? Oh my gosh. Like cultures. That's the word. It's still morning. And like learning, like there's nothing, it was like Pink on Kelly Clarkson show that said, you can't buy my wisdom, you have to go get your own, or you can't buy my knowledge, you have to go get your own. Where like, it's like you want to learn and glean from these people and like know it and then apply it. And right, because like knowing isn't enough. And I always say to so I have this phrase inside of my program saying, we're addicted to learning but allergic to implementing. Right? Yeah. And it's a hard one to because you're like, oh my gosh, you're like, I love, and a lot of times we think like knowing is enough, but it's in the application of where like the real beauty comes into play. And so with Mama Rosa, I would love for you to share like how you're going to preserve her wisdom and how you're going to share it with the world for other people to be able to not only learn, but apply.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. This gets back a lot to what we were talking about, the head versus the heart, right? That knowing versus the implementation or the embodiment of it, and then allowing it to trickle through. So the first thing is that by sitting with and being with these people, by being with her and being in her energy and receiving her transmissions, we're able to activate that part of ourselves. So it just automatically happens. There's nothing we have to do, just by being.
What do you mean by activate?
Ooh. So I believe that we have dormant inside of us because we don't recognize it or because we don't know that it exists. So many different aspects, different knowledge, different wisdom, different inherent power, gifts that we all are given in this lifetime. And I believe that to activate that means to wake it up, to remember that it's there, and to allow it to come online. So someone might be an amazing dancer, but they've never moved their body and they never thought of themselves as that. But all of a sudden they're around another dancer and they're in great music, and their body just starts to move. And so that part of them that's the dancer starts to get activated. So when I speak to activation, it's a real connection to that power, that inherent wisdom, those gifts, those skills, those tools, those aspects of ourselves that may be offline right now because we're either unaware of them, we've rejected them, we've put them aside. And I believe that specifically with Mama Rosa, she tends to vibrate at a frequency, that's the way that I'll speak to it, but she tends to be a way that activates people's trust in themselves. For me, she helped me remember how powerful I am so that I could embody that and love that about myself, so that I could say, yeah, I'm incredibly powerful and I'm incredibly good at what I do. For a long time, I was really shy about that. Like, oh no, but no, like I'm really good at what I do. And to know that, to stand in that is a really important thing. So just by being around somebody like her, for example, something like that can be activated or come back online.
I love it. I feel like the movie Bring It On about the cheerleaders. I think there's like an activate cheer and I can't remember it. But it makes me think about like when you have like a best friend, you start to talk and like act like each other. And like, it's kind of like you like take on you can't help but be influenced by the people you spend time with. But also I remember hearing like, if you want to know if someone's watching you, like look at your watch, and it's like, or like yawning is contagious, but like people will like, you mimic the people that you're watching. And so just by being in like that energy field, it happens. Okay. Sorry. So I like took you off track, but
no, that's okay. So I think we were speaking to how this work with Mama Rosa is going to work so that we can know and also embody. And so that was,
and if I can quickly say one more thing, sorry.
Of course you can. You can say as many.
I was going to say it. So I did work with you last week, and within 2 days, and I'm like a skeptic sometimes because I'm like, I want to know the science behind stuff, but no word of a lie, $2,500 just plopped into my business.
I love that. I'm putting that on my website.
There you go.
As a testimonial.
Just saying. So, I mean, if you guys listen up, if you've just joined, because like, I'm not saying it's going to happen for everyone, but like when you open up to receiving, you allow it to come into your life. And I'm not one for like name it and claim it, like just believe and it'll all be yours. But at the same time, you might be blocking things. Okay, go on. I'm going to stop interrupting.
Yeah, no, interrupt all you want. This is great. And I think we were working with the energy of power at the time, like reclaiming personal power. So it makes a lot of sense that you claim that power, which is what we were literally just speaking to. And I'm loving, and I love this in life, right? But I'm loving the themes that are very apparent in this conversation, right? Like the way that the energy moves in a conversation so that these themes keep circling back. I think if we were to replay this, we could come up with like 2 or 3 major themes that are coming up around who we're surrounding ourselves with and what energy we're putting around ourselves so that we can be set up for success and activating these parts of ourselves that set us up for success. And then one other thing I wanted to come back to was around this hustle culture that you kind of spoke into before, that this need to like do more, be better in that way. I can't stand it. It's personally not aligned with my way of being. It's why I left consulting. And I used to love it. Like I used to think like, hey, this was so much fun. Let's freaking go. Let's hustle. But it becomes in disalignment at some point for me, because the truth is my body, me personally, like I need rest. I need integration. I need spaciousness. I appreciate having time to reflect, right? And hustle culture did not allow that for me. And I think that there is a new paradigm. That's why I say I help people shift the paradigm, because I do believe there's a new paradigm that we're working with around abundance and money, around the corporate world, and the workplace. And so, this concept of hustle culture, I think it's got to go. All right.
Yeah.
And now coming back to teachers and Mama Rosa, and I personally, like, because we've had conversations, I can't speak in a straight line. I speak in absolute circles. Yeah. So
I'm not a linear thinker. I'm like this. I also want to show people, like when I was working behind the chair full time with clients, I was bringing in over $200,000 a year, being a non-linear person, not having the back end of my business super organized. And I want people to know, like, you don't need to change who you are to have the success and the money. You actually need to embrace and accept who you are. And that's what I love doing with my students, is like showing them like you can earn 6 figures, even more than 6 figures, by leaning into who you are rather than trying to change. There's so much education and stuff out there that's trying to tell people like, well, you just need to do this, and then you need to do this, and then you need to like wake up at 5 a.m. and you need to do this. And it's like, no, what if you like leaned into who you are naturally? What if you finally accepted your quirks? Your like the moment I started being my weirdo self and like showed and started showing up and like embracing that, like the connection with my clients, the more I started like being honest instead of trying to like be all put together and professional, like things just started to fall into place. And so instead of trying to mimic what someone else is doing to get their success, start being who you are and giving yourself permission to be yourself and watch how things shift. Because and that's kind of what I do with my education is like, I'm going to help you make more money, work less hours, and have less stress in a way that works for you, because there's not one right way to do things. You don't open up Google Maps and there's only one way to get somewhere. Yeah.
Well, I love
a
that.
little bit passionate there.
No, you're good. So first of all, Enamored Hair by Jenna Jewell asked, when you have someone with not so, I want to speak into what you were just saying, but when you have someone with not so great energy, do you believe in keeping sage or, what does it say?
Oh, sorry. I tried to pin it.
Keeping sage or a like item to clear the energy around it, burn it, keep it safe. So I mean, not that you guys have bad energy, but I have Palo Santo with me right now, right? And I do. Actually on Monday night, if anyone's interested, Mama Rosa is teaching a class with me on, that's my teacher. We're teaching a class on energetic clearings, because yes, I do believe that it's really important to come up with practices that feel really good for you and align with you. And I was speaking to somebody about this yesterday. Like, there are a ton of different clearing techniques and ways to keep your energy field clear. That's what I specialize in, right? This is what I help people to do. And so I could give you 1,000 different techniques, but it's kind of similar to what we spoke to at the beginning of our live, where it's not about the thing you're doing. It's about the energy you have behind it. Does it work for you? Does it resonate for you? Is it in alignment with you? Because these great practices over here might not resonate with you, and therefore are probably not going to be in alignment and keep you clean and keep you in the place that you want. So I do think what's really cool is to connect to elements. So fire, smoke, the reason that that's so powerful, fire is one of the more powerful elements. And I mean, they're all powerful elements. Who am I kidding? But it's one of the more powerful elements for removing things. So like you can burn something and then the fire will take it away. And what's really interesting is we can connect. It's said that we can connect to spirit through smoke. So the reason that you'll have people with incense and Palo Santos or burning things, if you take a intention, you write it down on a piece of paper and you burn it, the idea behind it is that goes up to spirit, right? Like the smoke will take up your message. So yes, I think having sage, Palo Santo, really important. I think when you go to find those tools, try to be conscious of where you're sourcing them from, because there are a lot of practices, unfortunately, for harvesting sage and Palo Santo that are unethical and that are actually hurting the environment and hurting the practice itself. So be really mindful of where you're sourcing and trust that, yeah, absolutely, it's useful. And there's tons of different practices. On my Instagram page, I think I have a video about like 3 tips or 5 tips for energetic clearings and keeping yourself clean. And then we have this class coming up on Monday if anyone's interested.
Yeah. And if you guys haven't already, tap this little arrow up here. It'll do a drop down and give Marni a follow. Because you're going to want to keep her in your orbit.
Oh, stop. Oh, well, okay. So going back, now that we've circled 1,000 times, going back to the conversation around Mama Rosa and the course, for me, what's so amazing is the ability to apply structure to infinite potential and possibility. And what's really, really cool is when you go around teachers like Mama Rosa or Indigenous teachers, very often what you're doing is you're going and you're receiving their transmission, their vibe, you're experiencing them. And it's like, you can't imagine it like a Western school where you're sitting with a syllabus and a curriculum and we're checking off our skills. Like, for example, for this course, we're trying to make it so that it's 30 hours of credit towards, it is 30 hours of credit towards the Yoga Alliance continuing education. And we're designing it so that it's applicable for the ICF, like the International Coaching Federation's coaching certifications. And so I was going through and I was thinking about like, okay, do we have all these skills checked? Yes, yes, yes. And I was thinking how ironic and how funny it was, because if I were to have been sitting with Mama Rosa and been like, are my skills being checked? I mean, like, she would have absolutely just laughed at me.
Yeah.
And it is important for our Western minds to have something to tangibly tag onto so that we can actually integrate and apply. That's why the mind and the heart combination is so important. So what we're doing is they're live classes with Mama Rosa on Zoom. And we're doing it over 6 to 7 weeks, depending on if you're doing the certification. And we have the class itself. We have these amazing workbooks where we've actually worked with her to define the structure of what she wants to share. And then I used to be a consultant, so I put it into different tables and frameworks for people to then like digest this indigenous wisdom, right? And I'm working with her son, Johnny, who's a wisdom keeper as well, but he's younger, so he's got this kind of more structured mind. It's been so much fun. It's really unique and cool. So we have these live classes so you can sit with her, ask questions, integrate her wisdom. We can apply the concepts. And then we have the workbooks and practicum and activities that you get to do outside of it. And then from there, we're going to take a small group down to Ecuador in June over the solstice, which is one of the most powerful times to harness your energy and your power. And we're going to one of the most powerful places. It's a national UNESCO park, it's reserve. And these people that we're going with, Mama Rosa and Johnny, they know all the vortexes. They know all these like sacred sites, right? So we get to go and study with them, be activated by them, and go to these amazing sacred sites.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's how we're doing that with her.
So for people who want to join in, I know you have this course that you're doing and you're doing it live so people can join in. Do they just go to your Instagram link in bio to find out more?
Yeah, absolutely. DM me. Go to my Instagram. It should be in my link. It's Marni Mae, MARNIMAE.com. And that's probably the best way is to go into my Instagram link or bio or DM me directly. I'd love to tell you more about it. And I'd love to share the experiences with you guys because it's magic. She's magic. And just this group that's coming together, doing this preservation work is so important. Yeah.
That's cool. And she said she saw shamanic energy in you. Is that what it was that she pulled you aside?
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
What does that even mean? I don't know. When I was in Africa, I was in South Africa and I met with a Sangoma, and that's like a spiritual teacher in South Africa. And so when I met with him, he said, "Hey, I see you're a Sangoma." Right. And so I think the name is just a title that someone will give you because that's what they've identified. But I think the energy that was seen and that they were noticing was that of somebody who's deeply connected to spirit. And oftentimes we're considered bridges, the bridge between the material and the metaphysical world, like that energetic world and the physical world. And we get to bridge the gap. I've gotten to be a bridge between the spiritual world and the corporate world, right? And so it's the best definition that I've had, the one that resonates most with me, is a bridge. And that's somebody that can be that bridge. I think of myself as a change agent and a transformational facilitator. And typically, like if you've seen this, if you come in contact with me, you're probably also a change agent or transformational facilitator. Like Dawn, I have no doubt that's exactly what you are in the world, right? And so that's the energy that I think that people see. It's that capacity to, like you were speaking before, walk your own path, right? It's not about doing it the way someone else has done it before you. Oftentimes, if you're in our orbit, like you're going to be somebody that's getting to learn how to do things your own way. And I wanted to share this. This is what I wanted to speak into when you talked about that. I was in a class that I take. It's a Jewish studies class. And we were talking about the opal and how the fire in the opal is only seen because of cracks in the opal that let the light come through. And that we have, I'm gonna butcher the actual phrase, but we have this like inherent flaw that often we think of as our downfall. But that what if that flaw, that thing that gives us trouble, that mindset shift that we've been trying to make for so long, what if that's actually our power? What if that's actually what makes us unique, what makes us stand out? And also it's our gift to the world. And so, I thought about it and I'm like, wait, what's my flaw? I have so many. What's my inherent flaw? And I was thinking, I'm really reactive. Like I can be very quick to react. And I've worked on it. I'm like, calm down, Marni. You don't have to react so quickly. And then I thought about it and I was like, okay, wait, what is that flaw in reverse? Like if that's my key flaw, but it's also my key gift, what does that mean? And I recognize, oh my gosh, what if my reactivity is also my ability to shift quickly? It's my ability to assess a situation and address it and adjust, right? So when the energy in a room is changing, I can shift with it, right?
Yes.
And so it's like, oh yeah, I'm really versatile. I'm highly adaptable and incredibly versatile. And that's one of my gifts in this world. And so just shifting that's another mindset shift, going back to mindset shifts, but that's another mindset shift from looking at ourselves as flawed to looking at ourselves as perfectly imperfect, and recognizing those things that we've been maybe trying to change, that we've been putting down about ourselves, those things that we want to and are ready to now activate because we recognize that they're not actually flaws, they're actually our gifts. Those are the things that are going to help us to make more money, call in those clients, to be in alignment and on this path that's actually like, we're all here for a reason. I believe that. We're all here for a reason. And I think it was Mark Twain that said, like, the two most important days of your life are the day that you're born and the day where you remember why. And so, so when we can get out of our own way, put the flaws to the side and start to recognize ourselves as perfectly imperfect, and we can start to accept every aspect of ourselves, and we can surround ourselves with people who are aligned with that acceptance and that can activate those parts of ourselves that we forget exist, we can start to be more whole. We can start to be more we can feel more fulfilled. We can feel aligned with that purpose. And then whatever that means, that purpose, however it shows up in the world, we can start to call in the people that are meant to be in our lives as well. That's my take.
That is so beautiful. And I was just going to say, to wrap this up, something I've been sharing a lot lately is like, what if the hardest thing you had to do was let yourself make it easy?
Oh, yes.
And really, like that, I feel like that just kind of like sums up what you're saying, is like, just like lean in to the who you are, why you're here, and stop we're so bombarded. I think they say, like, we take in, like, the amount of information we take in a day is what people used to take it in a lifetime now with, like, the scrolling.
Yes.
And we're being told who to be, how to be different, how to be loved, how to be accepted, instead of just being yourself. And like the moment, like, I love pop music so much. I love the Backstreet Boys, but I like to dress more like rock and roll. And it's okay to have the duality, right? Like, I mean, that's like a silly part of it, but like, allow yourself to be a paradox. Allow yourself, like, just like we need to start just embracing ourselves more, and the things that'll like, I mean, you coming into my life, the connection that we've maintained over the last week, even with me being like as sick as a dog, like, just like trusting the divine timing of things and people and places, even if it doesn't make sense.
Absolutely. Allowing there to be ease and grace, allowing the spaciousness for that, I think I feel it starts with self-acceptance and self-love.
Yeah.
Allowing
every part.
Allowing yourself to love yourself enough that it can be easy.
Yeah.
Allowing yourself to love yourself enough that you can have what it is and you are worthy of what it is that you deserve and that you want to come to you in this life.
Yeah.
And also allowing yourself to love yourself enough to trust that everything's unfolding perfectly for you, and that we don't have to shift it. We don't have to change it. Like, we can flow with it, even if it's hard. And I mean, I could speak for hours on difficult things that I've overcome that bring me to where I am right now. And that the ease comes with not avoiding difficulty, but rather finding grace while we're in those difficult situations, and that trust to navigate those difficult situations. And so ease and grace are a choice. It's not an environment. And putting yourself in that environment is useful and helpful. And putting yourself around the right people, useful, helpful, necessary. And it's a choice that we make.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Marni, thank you. I wish we could just talk all day. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day and coming and sharing with us. Once again, you guys tap that. If you're watching this live, tap that little arrow and it'll have a drop down. Follow Marni. Marni, what is your Instagram handle for anyone that's listening to this on the podcast right now?
Yeah, it's Marni Mayhem, MarniMaehem. A girlfriend of mine nicknamed me Marni Mayhem. I was 25 years old, and my name has been Marni May since I was a kid. And nobody thought of it until I was 25 or 26 years old. And I was like, all right, that's my name, Marni Mayhem.
So good. So good. Well, I think we should do this again. What do you think?
I would love it. And if your community has any specific questions for me, we could do a little chat on those. We could do some more of the like meditations and activations. And for those of you who are interested in that before Dawn and I have a chance to go live again, well, we have a class at noon today, Eastern time. And each Wednesday I teach about a different energy center, a different chakra system. A different energy center in the chakra system. So you're welcome to join those. You can find that in my Instagram. You can DM me or just go to Transform in my Instagram. And then you can reach out to me Yay!
Who wants to join me today in 45 minutes in Marni's? We're doing heart chakra today, right?
We're doing the heart chakra today. Yeah, join us in 45 minutes. Oh my God, I'd love to have you all there. It'd be amazing.
That would be so awesome. Bree's going. I think Bree and Jenna should definitely do it for sure. Oh, Jenna's saying, can we have her as a guest, please? Yeah, we're going to have you as a guest in my private community, I think.
Okay, perfect.
But yeah, and you just put can everyone put, or anyone that's interested in 45 minutes to going to Marni's workshop, can you just put a me in the comments so we know, and then we can reach out to you as well?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Because that would be awesome. We'll just give you a second. The comments are always delayed. Oh, Sherry over on Facebook is saying, ooh. So if you're interested in going to it, just put a me. Okay, Sherry says me. I'm just going to make a list of this.
Oh, thanks, Dawn.
And let's like overtake Marni's call in 45 minutes.
It is such a beautiful community. I'm so excited for you guys to be a part of it. It is my favorite thing that I do. It's not a money maker by any means. That's not why I do it. I do it for the community, but it is, it's so funny. I was on a business coaching call and they're like, why are you doing this? I'm like, because I love it.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, like we have to make money to survive in the world that we live in. We do. Right. But and so when you guys join, I'll do like a little group message to everyone that just said me right now, and I'll get the link. It's a really, really reasonable price to join it. You get a workbook, and do they get the recording as well?
Yeah, you get the workbook and the recording of the class. Yeah. And I think it's $35 or something like that.
Yeah. So Sherry, Jenna, Bree, Jessica, I'll do a group chat really quick. I'll get the link from Marni. But anyone else who's listening to this later, just go to Marni's Instagram, DM her. If you've loved this live, if you've gotten something out of it, just go send Marni a DM and let her know how much you loved it. Tell her what you got from this. And let's just like shower her with love and thanks for taking time out of her day to come spend time with us.
It fills my heart. So thank you so much. This is the week we're working with the heart. I'm so grateful to have opportunities to share that love and to receive that love. So thank you all so much. And thank you, Dawn, for trusting me and having me here. Thank you for the work you're doing in the world. You initially said something about like essence or something like that, not knowing what it was. I think that you embody being connected to your essence. And thank you for the work that you're doing in the world. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Okay, well, we will have you back. And until then, you guys stay weird and lean into who you are. Bye.
100%. Bye.